Many important changes took place in Hinduism during medieval period, and these were the worshipping of new gods and goddesses and construction of new and large temples by different kings.
Sharp thinking. True is the right choice.
In the middle of dash century, a scholar wanted to copy a book, but he did not have enough paper. So he washed the writing off a manuscript he did not want, dried the paper and used it.
Bravo. 13th is the answer.
The map in which South India is shown where we presently find North India was made by...
Valid point. Al-Idrisi is true.
This painting is about 10.5 by 7.1 cm. Because of its size, it's called dash.
You're right. A miniature is the correct answer.
This is map 1 made by an Arab geographer, Al-Idrisi, in the year of dash.
Exactly. 1154 makes sense and it is right choice.
Who drew this map of the Indian subcontinent in a topsy-turvy way?
Well reasoned. Al-Idrisi is the correct choice.
Fill in the blanks. Jatis framed their own rules and regulations. These regulations were enforced by an assembly of elders, described in some areas as the dash.
Excellent choice. Caste Panchayat is the right answer.
Babur used the term Hindustan in dash century to describe the geography, the flora and fauna, and the culture of the inhabitation of the Indian subcontinent.
You chose 16th, and it is correct.
According to medieval period, any stranger who did not belong to a certain society or culture and was not a part of particular village was regarded as dash.
Well picked. Foreigner is the correct answer.
The knowledge of Sanskrit texts earned the Brahmanas a lot of respect in the society. Their domain position was consolidated by the support of their dash.
Solid response. Patrons is a valid choice.
Who explained that he was the ruler of a vast empire that stretched from Bengal in the east, Ghazni in the west, and included all of the South India.
Nice work. You chose Ghiyasuddin Balban, and it is correct.
In the early 16th century, dash used Hindustan to describe the geography, the fauna and the culture of the inhabitants of the subcontinent. All
Nicely done. Babur is a solid answer.
is glass is a type of cartographer material. Great thinking. Yes is the right choice.
In the image given below, the model shows
Smart pick. Persian wheel is the correct choice.
An influential, wealthy individual who supports another person, an artist, a craftsperson, a learned man, or a noble is called a dash.
Perfect. Patron is the correct choice.
Which emperor used the term Hindustan to describe the geography, the fauna and the culture of the inhabitants of the subcontinent?
Nice selection. Babur is the correct and valid answer.
By whom in 1154 map 1 was made?
Well done. Go Idrisi is the right choice.
One group of people who became important in this period were the dash, a name derived from Rajaputra, the son of a ruler.
Strong choice. Rajputs is the right answer.
The Shia Muslims who believed that the Prophet's son-in-law Dash Ash was the legitimate leader of the Muslim community. Smart move. Eli is an accurate answer. Dash Muslims believed that the Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law, Ali, was the legitimate leader of the Muslim community.
You got it. Your choice, Shia, is right.
Identify the following.
Right again. Persian wheel is a valid answer.
He was a poet who belonged to medieval period of history and talked about the variety of Indian languages.
On track. Amir Solemn is the correct answer.
In the 14th century, the word Hind was used by Dashesh refer to the culture and people of the Indus River.
Excellent. Amir Solemn is a brilliant choice.
Many villages were governed by one chieftain, who was generally the eldest person of many Jati panchayats.
Good job. Your answer true works well here.
Forest dwellers were sometimes pushed out of their lands with the spread of agricultural settlements.
Right choice. True is the best answer.
What were the new crops and beverages that arrived in the Indian subcontinent in the medieval period?
Correct response. All the above is the most accurate answer.
Which is one of the oldest religions in the world and is the world's third largest religion today?
Clear logic. Your choice, Hinduism, is sound and 100% true.
What term did Baba use to describe the geography, the fauna, and the culture of the subcontinent? Great job! Hindustan is the accurate answer.
What was the name of an assembly of elders to enforce regulations framed by different jatis?
Correct. Case Panchayat is the right answer.
Merchants and migrants first brought the teachings of Holy Quran to India in the Dash century. Good thinking. 7th is the right answer.
Who used the term Hindustan for the first time to describe the land between Ganga and Yamuna? Well picked. Minhaj and cheese is the correct answer. Which ruler of Delhi had controlled an empire from Bengal in the east to Ghazni in the west?
Exactly. Ghiyasuddin Balban makes sense and it is right choice.
Dash writing style is cursive and easy, while Datash writing style is denser and more difficult.
Great job. Still, Shikast is the accurate answer.
Which group of Muslims accepted the authority of the early Muslim leaders called caliphs?
Excellent. Sunnis is a brilliant choice.
Muslims who believed in Allah as the legitimate successor of the Prophet were known as Dash.
Well done. Shias is the right choice.
Delhi Sultan Ghiyasuddin Balban stretched from Bengal in the east to Dash, in Dash.
You're right. Ghazni, Afghanistan is the correct answer.
Which of the following place was the eastern boundary of the Ghiyasuddin Balban's empire?
Nice work. You chose Bengal and it is correct.
Amir Khosrow has described that every region of India had its own different language in.
Well reasoned. 13 Atand is the correct choice.
Every jati or caste had formed its own rules to regulate the behavior of its members.
Good thinking. True is the right answer.
Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law was the legitimate leader of Muslim community as per the...
You chose Shia community, and it is correct. In the middle of Dash century, British historians divided the India into 3 periods.
Solid response. 19th is a valid choice. a person employed before printing was invented to make copies of documents is called?
Right again. Scribe is a valid answer. Who wrote his chronicles first in 1356, then revised another version 2 years later? On track. Ziauddin in the country is the correct answer.
In which period did the number and variety of textual records increase dramatically?
Good job, your answer 700 to 1750 works well here. Which term includes not just rulers and chieftains, but also soldiers and commanders?
Bravo! Rajaputra is the answer.
Dash framed their own rules and regulations to manage the conduct of their members.
Correct. Jatis is the right answer.
One of the major developments of this period was the emergence of the idea of Dash.
You got it? Your choice, Bhakti, is right.
Which language in past was not belonging to anyone, but was only known to Brahmins?
Valid point. Sanskrit is true.
Sultan of Delhi, who was praised in the Prashasti written in Sanskrit, was Dash.
Nicely done. On the left is a solid answer. In medieval history, this year we will read roughly about which 1,000 years?
Right choice. 700 1750 is the best answer.
Dash stretched a vast empire from Bengal in the east to Ghazni in Afghanistan. Smart move. Jessaddin Balban is an accurate answer.
In 1318, the poet Amir Khusro noted that a language, Vasamudri, was used in.
Correct response. Southern Karnataka is the most accurate answer.
Which people were expected to bring gifts for their king in the 17th century?
Excellent choice. Samantha is the right answer.
Dash used the term Hindustan for the first time in the 13th century.
Clear logic. Your choice, Minhaj Siraj, is sound and 100% true.
Brahmana's knowledge of a Dash texts made them highly respected in the society. Smart pick. Sanskrit is the correct choice.
Which Muslims group accepted the authority of the early leaders or caliphs?
Perfect. Sunny is the correct choice.
Through this period, Dash gradually became cheaper and more widely available.
Strong choice. Paper is the right answer.
In which century Babur used Hindustan to describe geography of subcontinent? Nice selection. 16th is the correct and valid answer. State whether true or false one. We did not found any manuscript after 700 AD. Great thinking. True is the right choice. A place where documents and manuscripts are stored is known as an archive.
Sharp thinking. True is the right choice.
Which of the language was used in Andhra Pradesh according to Amir Khusro?
Nice selection. Concern is the correct and valid answer.
Prosperity in the subcontinent attract trading companies of which region?
Exactly. Europe makes sense and it is right choice.
Which groups were totally dominant in the Indian society in the medieval? Excellent choice. Brahmins is the right answer.
Through the period of 700 to 1750, which of the following became cheaper?
Well done. Paper is the right choice.
Who believed that Ali was the legitimate leader of the Muslim community?
Smart move. Yes is an accurate answer.
Which language was spoken during 14th century in present Bengal region?
Right again. Gori is a valid answer.
Dash were collected by wealthy people, rulers, monasteries, and temples. Right choice. Manuscripts is the best answer.
Who divided the history of India into 3 periods based on religions?
Bravo. British historians is the answer.
When was the more refined map of India made by the French cartographer?
Excellent. None of these is a brilliant choice.
Which of these people did not show interest in collecting manuscripts?
On track. Farmers is the correct answer.
Which warrior clan or a group became important between 700 to 1750 CE?
Strong choice. Rajputs is the right answer.
An influential, wealthy individual who supports artists and craftsmen.
Correct response. Patrons is the most accurate answer.
Shikast's style of writing was dash. Nastalik's style of writing was dash.
Valid point. Dense. Easy is true.
Dash style of writing Persian and Arabic is cursive and easy to read.
Well reasoned. Nastalik is the correct choice.
Which of the following is not the meaning of foreigner in the past?
Nicely done. Indigenous is a solid answer.
What did the French cartographer name the Bay of Bengal in his map?
Great job. Gulf of Bengal is the accurate answer.
What is the term used for learned theologians and jurists in Islam?
Clear logic. Your choice, Ulama, is sound and 100% true. Identify the food which has not arrived during the medieval period. You got it. Your choice, millets, is right. In which periods the British historian divided the Indian history? You're right. All the above is the correct answer. Bhakti movements were originated in Dash during the medieval age. Sharp thinking. India is the right choice. Identify the new technology developed during the medieval period. Great thinking. All the above is the right choice.
Who was the Arab geographer who made the map of the subcontinent?
Good thinking. Goid Raisik is the right answer.
Sultan Ghiyasuddin Balban controlled Assam, Manipur, and Kashmir.
Good job. Your answer false works well here.
Which group of people became the most dominant during this time?
Correct. Brahmanas is the right answer. Who said, "Common people do not know Sanskrit, only Brahmins do." Smart pick. Amir is the correct choice.
Thousands of subcastes also existed during the medieval period.
Solid response. True is a valid choice. What were the major cities under the control of the Chahamanas? Well picked. Both and B is the correct answer.
A Jati Panchayat was an assembly of the elders of a single Jati.
Nice work. You chose true and it is correct.
The new technology used for weaving in the medieval period is?
You chose spinning wheel, and it is correct.
Trades and invaders brought the teachings of Islam in the Dash.
Perfect. 7th century is the correct choice. Who used the Hindustan word to explain the geography of India?
Perfect. Baba is the correct choice. in which century paper was expensive and was easily available.
Good job. Your answer 14th century works well here. Science of cartography differed between 12th and 13th century.
Bravo, true is the answer.
Archive was a place where dash were kept for future reference.
Right again? Books is a valid answer.
Early leaders of Sunni Muslims community were called as dash.
Well reasoned. Caliphas is the correct choice.
What was the year in which a French cartographer made a map?
Nice work. You chose 1720 and it is correct.
British historians divided Indian history into dash periods.
Great thinking. 3 is the right choice.
Name the language, which was specifically used by Brahmins.
Excellent. Sanskrit is a brilliant choice.
The teachings of the Holy Quran first came to India in the
Correct response. 7th century is the most accurate answer.
Who had accepted the authority of the early Muslim leaders?
Nice selection. Sunnis is the correct and valid answer.
Between 700 and 1750 new technologies made appearance like
Smart pick. All of the above is the correct choice.
Who was the last Hindu ruler of Indus Valley Civilization?
Solid response. You are more is a valid choice.
Fill in the blank one. Archives are places where dash are kept.
smart move. Manuscripts is an accurate answer.
Jatis were also required to follow rules of their village.
Valid point. Yes is true. British historians divided the history of India into dash.
Exactly. 3 periods makes sense and it is right choice. Who coined the term Hindustan in the 13th century?
Good thinking. Babur is the right answer.
We do not find inscriptions for the period after 700 CE. Well done. False is the right choice.
The Muslims had 2 divisions, the Shias and the Sunnis.
Right choice. True is the best answer.
14th century poet Amir Khusro used the word dash.
Well picked. Hind is the correct answer.
Who were the parties involved in tripartite struggle?
Sharp thinking. All of the above is the right choice.
Medieval Persian and modern Persian are different by.
You chose both LMB, and it is correct.
Babur used which term to describe Indian subcontinent?
Great job. Hindustan is the accurate answer.
Name the Arab geographer who made the map in 1154 CE.
Clear logic. Your choice Go Idris is sound and 100% true.
The people who copied manuscripts by hand we known as. You got it? Your choice scribes is right. Map 1 was made in dash. C by the Arab geographer dash.
Correct. 1154 Al-Idrisi is the right answer. Which of them are few of the famous autobiographies? Nicely done. All of the above is a solid answer. Which city was located right over the Narmada River?
Strong choice. Malwa is the right answer.
Knowledge of dash earn Brahmanas a lot of respect.
Excellent choice. Sanskrit is the right answer. Rules and regulations of Jatis were enforced by Dash.
On track. Caste Panchayat is the correct answer.
Status of a jati remained same from region to region.
You're right. False is the correct answer. Who was considered as the most powerful Chola ruler? Clear logic. Your choice, Raja, is sound and 100% true. During the period between 700 C and 1750 C, Jatis. Smart move. Followed their own rules is an accurate answer. Ziauddin Barani was a chronicler of which century? Right again. 14th is a valid answer. Which of the following is the holy book of Muslims? Exactly. Quran makes sense and it is right choice. British historians divided the medieval period into right choice. British, Muslim, Hindu is the best answer. The Muslims had two divisions, the Dash and the Dash. Correct response. Shia and Sunni Muslim is the most accurate answer.
For the first time, the term Hindustan was used by
Excellent. Minhaj-i-Cheese is a brilliant choice. Dash style of writing is cursive and easy to read. Well reasoned. Nastaliq is the correct choice. What were the new developments in medieval period? Good thinking. Both A and B is the right answer. Medieval period is contrasted with the Dash period. Great job. Modern is the accurate answer. A group of warriors who claimed Dash caste status. You chose Kshatriya, and it is correct. Minajai Sairaj was a chronicler who wrote in Dash. Correct. Persian is the right answer. Which of the following is not the literary source? Great thinking. Coin is the right choice. Which word did Amir Khusrau use to describe India? You're right. Hind is the correct answer. Which was the most dominant group in the society? Smart pick. Brahmanas is the correct choice.
South Indian Empire in the medieval was known as
Excellent choice. Dravida is the right answer. Who brought the teachings of Holy Quran to India? Well picked. Merchants and migrants is the correct answer. Cholas, Khilji and Tughlaqs built empire that were. Nicely done. Pan-regional is a solid answer. Cholas, Khaljis and Tuluks built a Dash empire. Well done. Pan-regional is the right choice. Who used to copy down the manuscripts on papers? You got it? Your choice, scribes, is right. When Ziauddin Barani wrote his first chronicle. Solid response. 1356 is a valid choice. What is the meaning of Hiranyagarbha literally? Perfect. Golden womb is the correct choice. Who is this? He was a famous poet and singer. On track. Amir Khusro is the correct answer. Who used the Hindustan word for the first time? Good job. Your answer, Miraj-i-Sairaj, works well here. A Jati Panchayat enforced rules on its members. Nice selection. True is the correct and valid answer. The medieval Persian is different from the Dash.
Valid point. Modern Persian is true.
What was the time period of Ghiyasuddin Balban? Nice work. You chose 1266-1287 and it is correct.
Many new dynasties emerged after which century?
Strong choice. 7th century is the right answer.
Ziauddin Barani was a dash century chronicler.
Bravo. 14th century is the answer.
Question 1. Cartographer is a person who makes.
Sharp thinking. Maps is the right choice.
Which of the following are sources of history?
Well done. All of the above is the right choice.
Which of the following collected manuscripts?
Solid response. All of these is a valid choice.
Ziauddin Barani wrote his chronicle first in.
Exactly. 14th makes sense and it is right choice. What was the duration of the medieval period?
You got it. Your choice 717-50 is right.
The term Hindustan was first used by whom? Sharp thinking. Minhaj-i-Cheez is the right choice. Who always marked the place's name in Arabic? Perfect. French cartographer is the correct choice.
When did the Mughal Empire start to decline?
You're right. 18th century is the correct answer.
Devasamudri was the language spoken in Dash.
Nice selection. Karnataka is the correct and valid answer.
What is the meaning of the word Rajaputras?
Well picked. Son of a ruler is the correct answer.
Manuscripts were collected by the Sudras.
Strong choice. False is the right answer.
Which type of people collected manuscripts? You chose wealthy people. And it is correct. Name the place where manuscripts are kept. Good thinking. Archives is the right answer.
Places where dash are kept are called dash.
Great job. Manuscripts archives is the accurate answer.
What do you mean by the term Rajaputra?
Clear logic. Your choice, son of the ruler, is sound and 100% true.
Amir Khusrau was a poet of which century? Nicely done. 14th is a solid answer.
From whom the revenue was also collected?
Great thinking. Traders is the right choice.
Dash was a 14th century chronicler.
Right choice. Ziauddin Barani is the best answer.
Dash is a person who copies manuscripts.
Excellent choice. Scribes is the right answer.
Akbarnama and Ain-i-Akbari is written by?
Correct response. Abul Fazl is the most accurate answer.
What kind of government does India have?
Excellent. Democratic is a brilliant choice.
The word Rajput was derived from Dash.
Valid point. Rajputra is true.
A person who makes maps is called Dash.
Right again. Cartographer is a valid answer.
Which invader returned to his country?
Bravo. Mahmud of Ghazni is the answer.
This was the period of great mobility.
Correct. True is the right answer.
Rashtrakutas were subordinate to whom?
On track. Chalukyas is the correct answer.
Which region did Al-Idrisi belong to?
Well reasoned. Arab is the correct choice.
When did the medieval period started?
Smart move. 700 AD is an accurate answer. Dash invented the first map in 1154.
Good job. Your answer, Arab cartographer, works well here. Which among the following was a poet?
Smart pick. Poet is the correct choice.
Who was the winner of World War I? Nice work. You chose Russia and it is correct.
Ghiyasuddin Balban was the Sultan of.
Excellent. Della is a brilliant choice.
Map of the past are dash those today.
Excellent choice. Different from is the right answer.
Who destroyed the Temple of Somnath?
Valid point. Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni is true.
A person who makes maps is known as...
Correct. Cartographer is the right answer. Al-Idrisi was in dash cartographer.
Well picked. Arab is the correct answer.
Who among the following draws maps?
Exactly. Cartographer makes sense and it is right choice.
What do we call foreigner in Hindi?
Smart pick. Stranger is the correct choice.
Paper was used to write Prashastis.
Well done. False is the right choice.
The term Rajput was derived from... Nice selection. Rajaputra is the correct and valid answer.
The Arabian script is written from. Nicely done. Right to left is a solid answer.
Where were the manuscripts placed?
Smart move. All the above is an accurate answer.
Which is the holy book of Muslims?
Correct response. Quran is the most accurate answer.
Dash is denser and more difficult.
Good job. Your answer damn works well here.
Today the term Hindustan means...
Perfect. India is the correct choice.
Types of medieval period sources.
Bravo. All of the above is the answer. Who was the founder of Buddhism? On track. Siddharth Gautam is the correct answer.
Manuscripts were placed in dash.
Strong choice. Archives is the right answer.
Dash invented second map in 1720s.
Right again. French cartographer is a valid answer.
Dash copied manuscripts by hand.
Sharp thinking. Scribes is the right choice.
What does the word Rajput means?
You're right. Rulers is the correct answer. Who is a person who makes maps?
Great job. Cartographer is the accurate answer.
The Persian wheel was used in.
Nice work. You chose agriculture and it is correct.
Literary sources of historians.
Good thinking. Manuscripts is the right answer.
Name the holy book of Muslims.
Solid response. Quran is a valid choice.
Who used to copy down scripts?
You chose scribe, and it is correct.
Which are the literary sources?
Clear logic. Your choice indigenous and foreign is sound and 100% true.
Jatis were grouped on basis of great thinking. Both NB is the right choice.
When was paper easily available?
Well reasoned. 14th century is the correct choice.
Manuscripts were collected by.
You got it? Your choice, all of the above, is right.
What is meant by archaeology?
Right choice. The study of remains is the best answer.
Who used the term Hindustan?
Well reasoned. Minhaj-i-Siraj is the correct choice.
Russia is a part of Europe.
You're right. False is the correct answer.
Who defeated Muhammad Ghori?
Smart move. Prithviraj Chauhan is an accurate answer.
A person who makes map dash.
Excellent choice. Cartographer is the right answer.
What is the idea of bhakti?
Right choice. Loving personal deity is the best answer.
Ali Idrisi was of Arab dash.
Nicely done. Geographer is a solid answer.
What was the Persian wheel?
Correct.
Irrigation wheel is the right answer.
Who wrote Prithviraj Raso?
Great thinking. Chanbodai is the right choice. Ghiyasuddin Balban was.
Smart pick. Delhi Sultan is the correct choice. Who used the word hind? Right again. Minhaj-i-Siraj is a valid answer.
Parisian wheel developed.
You chose agriculture, and it is correct.
Study of coins is called
Sharp thinking. Numismatics is the right choice.
In 1154, he made map.
Perfect. French cartographer is the correct choice. Consumption were Mantu. Good thinking. Praise the kings is the right answer.
Ghazni situated in Dash.
Nice work. You chose Afghanistan, and it is correct.
Who is a cartographer?
You got it. Your choice, someone who makes maps, is right. Who wrote Kitab al-Hind? Excellent. Byron is a brilliant choice.
Who was Minhaj-e-Siraj?
Exactly. A chronicler makes sense and it is right choice.
Cartographer makes maps.
Correct response. True is the most accurate answer. Sources of historians. Clear logic. Your choice, all of the above, is sound and 100% true.
Find the odd one out.
On track? Lodis is the correct answer.
When was map 2 made?
Well picked. 1720s is the correct answer.
Who was Al-Idrisi? Strong choice. Arab cartographer is the right answer.
Buddha means dash.
Good job. Your answer awakened one works well here.
Script refers to.
Well done. Written form of language is the right choice.
They makes maps.
Solid response. Cartographer is a valid choice.
Al-Idrisi was a.
Bravo. Geographer is the answer.
Who makes maps?
Valid point. Cartographer is true.
Arinda dash. Nice selection. Chronicler is the correct and valid answer.
How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format?
Great job. Contact Narayan Changder on Facebook is the accurate answer.